there'll be time afterwards, I think, to take a look around the studio, and I would encourage you to take a look and participate in the activities. So this was designed really to get some feedback from the businesses along Washington Street. So that's why you're here. I'm going to introduce Russ Preston in a second, but it might be helpful, Russ, to get a sense of the businesses that are here.
Why don't we start with this, gentlemen? Just who are, where you're from, and why you're here. Great.
Jason from Marty's Fine Line up the road. Yeah, just get an idea what the development projects are and kind of feel it is.
Norman started no business affiliation at this time.
My name is Brendan Harrigan. I'm family owns and operates the barn, and we're here to see what the project does in store for us.
Sonia Barista. I have a small architectural firm, and I also serve
film school, and I'm a special film school. John Martin.
Catherine Alice, Economic Development Director for the City.
David Donahue, Utilities, Securities, what's going on?
Julia Malachi, Westgate Resident.
Joyce Blackton, Chair of the Economic Development Commission.
Red Arnstein, Bill.
Peter Bruce, we go.
David Bramante, Westgate Cinema. Jewel Chains, Auburndale.
Gary Biddy with the Village Train.
Neil Herman from the Planning Department.
So thanks, everyone. I'm Russ Preston from Principal Group. Oh.
President.
Great. Thanks everyone for coming out at such a start of the day here. We've been working with the city to help facilitate this whole planning effort for Washington Street. How many folks is this their first meeting for this process? A handful. All right. Well, I think just to start out, just kind of orient us. We've got, it's really meant to be a discussion, speak your input, let us hear what you have to say, what your hopes and dreams for the future of Washington Street is, also what you don't want to see, what you want to fix, what's troubling you as a business owner now working on Washington Street. But really what we're looking at is from essentially Newton Corner all the way along Washington Street to just past West Newton, essentially where the off-ramp to the Pike is. And then our sort of area going away from Washington Street is, you can see on some of these maps, sometimes a couple blocks, sometimes it might be a 5 or 10 minute walk, it really depends. But our focus is to create a vision plan for this corridor. And what is a vision plan? A vision plan is really a guiding document for the city and for the neighborhoods. So that in 20, 25, 30 years from now, you kind of see this is what we might look like, feel like, be, desires. And then that document will guide policy, capital improvements, and the city as choices are made going forward. The second thing we're making is zoning, which would be more focused along the corridor around Newtonville and into West Newton. And that would be new zoning for Washington Street. And ideally, that zoning is actually aligned and calibrated to result in that vision that everyone has created together. And by doing that, zoning actually is one of the few tools we as students have to control the future, and sort of help us, sort of guide us towards creating the neighborhoods and the business main streets that we desire. So that's really our scope of work in this process, but what we really need is your input as locals, as operators of businesses along all these main streets and these villages to tell us what needs to change, what needs to improve. And for those of you who have watched the kickoff meeting on Tuesday night, we shared just some quick reports that we pulled from the surveys that are online right now. And I thought this was one that might resonate with this group. So it's very important for the community. And then another one, which I thought was more impressive, an overwhelming support for independent and local businesses. So that was a strong desire that we're seeing in the community already. A number of other meetings that we held yesterday and over the last few weeks have resulted in similar statements and desires. So how does everyone feel about that? Awesome. Okay, good. So that's, I thought everyone would enjoy kind of seeing those results. So the other concerns we've heard that I thought that I kind of wanted to start with this morning is parking. Who thinks we have great parking in Weston? Raise your hand. No, okay. So who thinks we have horrible parking in Weston? Okay. So the question I have is, where do some of you as business owners or where do your employees park now? Where are they parking? I think just from a sense of geography, we can talk about Weston and go kind of fly around and so.
So for me, I don't park at some meters or on the side streets. But the issue of I have parking about 6 months ago, I think Austin Street, that was we used to move on where people could partake with the rail. Now with all the construction going on and everything else around, that whole other side of the rail goes is completely filled by like 8 o'clock in the morning. So over the past 5 or 6 years, more agencies have come in that are actually doing more business, which is nice. There's a lot more traffic in that area now. But it's still a lot of us because there's no place for customers to park. And for me, at least once or twice a year for a week's out of it, at least, dating going on so all the members that actually do have it on. And I don't have any off-street parking meters. So, this is that, I guess they lost everything. So not only me, but like surrounding business owners that I talk to, they're having the same issues. And, as opposed to the time when not necessarily they were wrong. Yeah. So concerned for all of us, especially people here about lawyers we need to pay and stuff like that, and things like that. But that's one of the issues that we're looking at.
Has others had a similar experience with the street work? Yeah, a few hands there. Then, yeah, sir.
Well, in Newtonville, metered parking is really important to lots of businesses there. And we had 300 metered spaces approximately. Right now it's been reduced by about we were pretty highly pressed before on Saturday, busy times of the week. It's pretty hard. The Star Market employees are telling me that their business has fallen off quite a bit with the closing of a lot of the Austin Street lot. So meter parking is really important to businesses. Business owners, that's just my perception.
So, what kind of turnover does everyone see up here? Are people parking? Is there much what's called people parking, where there's people always pulling out, still pulling in? How often are your customers getting spaces right on essentially right on the wall?
Well, I'm around one of them, I'm Washington. Village Cafe. So there's a few of them like that, where we call user parking, but I noticed by like 8:30, a lot of parking cars are taken out. Like that area where you're at right now, those
Barney, is that, those meters are controlled by the city or by the MTA? City, because they're all city meters. Yeah, Tom, sure.
Walnut Street, Little Center, I go through there every day, and logistically, the city's done a really good job of Walnut Street, organizing it, and the traffic flow, seems to be working, quite well. That's just a ton of, so far as the parking is concerned, along Walnut Street, where the little bank is on one side, and the APS store is on the other side, and it's really working pretty well. I park there every day. There's a lot of turnover. People pulling in,
Yeah. So one last question on this parking. Because I'm trying to understand habits of your customers. Are people parking on the sort of residential streets, the side streets and all, and walking a block or two?
Some do, but, not that far.
Yeah.
So you can find something a bit closer.
Hello.
Stickers just talking about
We're in West Newton, and right in the square at the Puget Mounds. And while there's currently parking out front, the speed of the traffic is so high that when you open your door, first you're not sure you're still going to have a car door, and then you're also concerned for your safety. People are just, especially if all the lights line up. It's like they hit the jackpot and they're really flying down. It really was a dangerous situation, and people were like, it's not wrong.
Can I just jump in there? So the good, I'm sure you're aware of the city's plan for West Newton Square that should make it a lot safer, a lot more organized for people, and cars will definitely be moving slower. In some ways it'll be more efficient because there'll be new signals that are coordinated, and there'll also be bike lanes, so it should have a totally different feel to it than it does right now. That's the good news. I'm sorry. That plan is definitely sticking. It's actually going out to bid this summer.
So in West Newton Square, I've been parking over here quite a bit, and I tend to not have a problem getting space, but do people hear that lot gets filled up? So yeah, sorry, so that's the municipal lot, kind of. Yeah, between the insurance.
I do have something to say that we're from West Newton. The thing is, I feel that for a big company like CVS that has a big parking lot, but they are not controlled aggressively. In West Newton, it's very different from Newton. There's a lot less parking in West Newton. And business and CVS, and I think for some reason, a lot of people drive to CVS. They can be somewhere a little bit away from the main street. It takes up a lot of available parking. I think those parking should reserve for smaller business. The zoning purpose instead of the whole big building. The other thing is we all have to know that Newton, we have a lot of older residents. The idea of biking, walking is great. I support that, but we have a lot of older people. In the winter time, in different time, they just cannot walk or bike, as you say, that like to love, but they cannot. So those are big concern. Parking is huge concern, especially for Western. Newton has more, but Western has a lot less.
Just a comment on the parking lot that you asked about. So I think during the weekday afternoons, I'd say there are some openings, but because the spots are not spots that we can park from, or park from, commuter rail or something. So I think they're a shorter time frame than the meters. Not, I think like 4 hours or something like that, but not like a whole day, so you can take it for the whole day and put your car there. It gets busy around dinner time and kind of like that early, like I'd say the evening commute time. But what it is like, as Felix was saying, the residents of in this area, for kind of a small business, we see a lot of older residents and older customers. Frankly, they don't even know about that parking lot. We often have to tell them. I think the signage is not that good, and I think that it looks like it's close on the map, but some people really think it's far away. I mean, it's just far enough away. So our shop is close to like the Bank of America side, and that's just enough to feel that that's kind of far to walk to, especially if it's raining during the winter time. It's just not convenient. It's great for this side. I mean, I'm gonna say, if you're going to like the train, the Blue Ribbon, it's totally fine. But if you're trying to make it over to Sweet Tomatoes or something like that, it's kind of tough during the winter, in the rainstorms or something like that.
Yeah. The walk, and I think a bit of this is going to improve with the streetscape project that's planned. But the experience I've had is just this walk from this intersection down to here was quite brutal. And I think a big part of it is kind of crossing here. So I think that's going to get better. I think in the short term, during construction, I think city really has to work well with all of you to choreograph all of that, make sure there's temporary signage, there's temporary sign. That can be done, and it's been done in a number of other places around the city recently. East Broadway and East Somerville is one that was done a couple years ago that had a number of small businesses in it that the city coordinated very well with to work on the streetscape. So I think that can be done. The concern though is that there's a lot of parking in the square that isn't used that well. Like we've been told a couple times now that there's like 100 spaces just sitting empty in this garage most days. And then at night, no one's using it.
It's not public.
That's the problem, right? So one of the things that we've always sort of looked at in these kind of Main Street conditions is how can we share parking resources? Because the best thing for your businesses is actually promote really good walking. Because people are going to park somewhere and then walk a block, walk half a block. If they're lucky, they're going to get that spot right in front of the door that we all want. But that doesn't always happen. So what we've been kind of looking at in all of the village centers is how can we figure out how to have a shared parking resource, whether that's an existing garage, a new garage, or some other set of surface lots that are well signed, have good hours that help sort of turnover, but also have long-term parking and sort of that proper balance. It sounds like there's some imbalance right now. So I think one of the ways to do that is a shared parking ordinance that gives either a stick or a carrot for some of these private lots to participate in. That's an idea we're kicking around. People think that's a good idea. I don't know why you wouldn't, so that's...
Just a comment I have, fortunately we have a parking lot, and although we have a parking lot, we still deal with other issues. Frequently, customers will ask us, can I stay here for a couple minutes and continue to shop in other parts of town? That comment about the walk itself, I know a lot of our customers are older, and that hill is impossible for them, and we're able to set down a little bit lower. But I think the comment I want to make is the mindset of people of, I'm in a spot, it's difficult to find a spot, so I'm not moving. So people tend to stay there longer because they know it's more difficult to find another spot. I don't have a fix to that, but I know that's part of the mentality that somehow has to change.
Yeah, so if I'm hearing you right, it's the idea of this park once. Someone wants to just park once and not move the car.
Well, it's more so park once because I think you're not finding another spot.
Right. So are you finding your customers? You're with the park, right? Yeah. So people are going there parking and then they want to go into the square and do something else, but they don't want to try and go find more parking.
Again, let's say maybe I park once, I'm close enough. If I try to go to Trader Joe's, I'm going to get stuck. There's not enough spots. I don't want to park in the street because my door will get ripped off. I mean, it's the mentality of, that there is more available parking, whether that's through signage or different or afraid to move their car because there's nothing down there, or I have to go back to where I am now. Again, I don't have a solution, it's just a mindset that I get afraid to move our customers.
Yeah, so more or less as the crow flies, that's a 5-minute walk, say, from your store down to get a coffee. You know, so that should not be a hard walk for most people. I know we do have an aging population in Newton, but there's a chronic issue in the United States around mobility and active lifestyle. CDC has published a lot of research on this, and a lot of it has to do with our sedentary lifestyle. Like, we all should stand up in this meeting while we're standing. You know, little things like that. But part of it is walking is actually it's a thing that we can screw up very easily. So just the walk, you know, a 5-minute walk is what humans have been designed to do. You know, that's sort of you look at traditional settlements all over the globe, and neighborhoods are really structured on, like, from the 100% corner, that sort of market square, or that main street shop. You know, the neighborhood is really 5 minutes from center to edge. So if you really think of, I don't know where the geographic sort of center might be, but everyone within a 5-minute walk, should really be walking, should feel comfortable walking in, because it should be very easy.
And I know we constantly use the older consumer as the person.
Yeah.
Don't forget too, mom with 3 kids does not want to go on Washington Street.
Oh, yeah.
Open their
Yeah.
sliding door.
Yeah.
So again, yes, we have a lot of older customers, but we have a ton of younger, more active. It's not the walking, it's the fear of your child being on Washington Street, that ripping up and down the street. So I agree with you in that sense that, the older customer distance, but there's a lot of the kids too that we have to consider.
So Washington Street has some problems for humans. These lanes, these travel lanes are too wide, for a main street. So the whole thing around context is these, over the years, and I said this last night too, I think the choices that were made on how we move cars on Washington Street were very much influenced by the traffic engineering of the Pike. So I think as business owners have probably experienced this, because people fear coming to your business and parking on the street is what I'm hearing. So one of the things we can do is really create a better context-sensitive street design here. What does that mean? That means that if you go to, let's just try something. What are some great main streets around the region that you all go to or experience, or I've been thinking about some of them. Someone brought up Davis Square the other day. Okay, well, there's these shopping streets, and what we find is that great shopping streets actually have 50% of their, so if you look from the property line to the property line, 50% of that space is usually dedicated to humans. So that means the sidewalk width, and that ratio from sidewalk width to pavement width is about 50-50. And some people measure this and say as that ratio gets further apart, retail revenues tend to change significantly. So a way to actually increase business and actually make people more comfortable is to increase the sidewalk width. And that's a sort of an interesting ratio. The other thing is to actually slow vehicle speed down. So the width, and this is interesting that this is right here, but a lot of our life safety and our traffic choices have been influenced by truck turning radius. We're kind of designing this for the maximum, biggest thing possible. So that what that inherently does is actually make all of our village centers not in a human scale. So the idea that we're you see this radius, I think a number of these things are going to be solved by the streetscape plan, but I think, in Newtonville, it's worth looking at that again, and Newton Center is a totally different story, but the idea that we can slow cars so that we don't want anyone moving faster than 20 miles per hour as they go through the main street. So they can see your signage. If someone wants to jaywalk across the street to get from one store to the other, that happens. I feared for my life running across the street the other day. That jaywalking actually encourages better shopping. So that's something that a lot of very high functioning main streets know. So getting that sort of width of just the travel lane down significantly is going to help. So, a couple comments.
I would say one of the big things to me about Washington Street is just, as a person not in a car, we don't feel safe, right? Again, because of the speed of the traffic, it's not beautiful. It feels like a concrete and brick jungle, pretty much. It's currently not enjoyable, and I have to say, since the accident at Sweet Tomatoes, there is a different fear about just being, you know, about the fast-moving traffic and being so close to that.
Yeah, I think I was driving down this morning and saw the kids going across the street too. And it's one of those things that I was thinking about, is how can we start to think about all the other users of this street and then balance all of those elements. So,
I think we need to think about the variety of businesses. For example, how does a parent buy food for a family of 4 for 1 week without a car, without a van? So ideally, you could do like smaller trips to different kinds of stores, like every 2 days, every 3 days, but then you need the stores to be able to walk to them. Otherwise, you're stuck to the van, and you're stuck to going 1 time a week to Stop and Shop. I think we need variety of uses and more, and probably close together to be able to walk.
yeah.
And ideally, you have a karate studio that you're going to have lessons for the kids, or the writing practices. It's the only way that I think we can get rid of the car, or at least reduce the trips.
So, that's an interesting comment, because we've been mapping, there's a few of the maps that are posted up there, but one of the maps we've done is what we call a pedestrian walking shed. So it's basically from this village center to the edge, how far is that? And what we found is that, you know, that sort of 5-minute walk from services, just like you say, you can go and, you know, I forgot eggs and milk, you can walk down and get it, you don't have to get in the van and bring all the kids and all that. So that idea that you can walk to services is covered sort of in these parts of the neighborhood, and as we think about trying to adapt the lifestyle, but also the, you know, if you're just going a couple blocks, you don't need to really get in your car to add that car trip to the Washington Street. So, but what we're seeing is there's actually gaps in that network. Like this area here, I think, you know, historically there's some sort of remnants of maybe corner stores or little groceries and stuff that might have been there. But Washington Street, you know, kind of has this good neighborhood structure. And you can see how all of these streets kind of come into what might have been a little, you know, a little commercial core. And then these, there are much more because the trade was happening there with the railroad, and the railroad spurs and all. So the question I might ask in response to that is, you know, are there other places in the neighborhood that a little bit of commercial at the corner store to buy some stuff, you know, could go, or, you know, that structure? Are there any other older buildings that you think, oh, that might have been a store from back in the day? Does anyone see those when they travel around? Where? Oakley Spa, yeah. Yeah, that's right here, yeah. But that's part of this, you know, puzzle of just kind of improving the life of the neighborhood is, you know, is how can we, you know, support businesses that might not necessarily be in the main street either, you know, but actually these are probably serving, historically this was probably serving the neighborhood from a walking standpoint. You know, or it could have been this was a trolley stop, you know, on Washington Street back in the day. So we're kind of looking at that sort of historic structure and sort of starting to think, well, how can we support this? Because there's still people living in this neighborhood that might want to walk down here and get other things. And, you know, so that's an idea we're working with. So, good.
Davis, going back, this gentleman talked about Newtonville, and that's where I live, and I'm there every day, and I agree with you. That street works better. It's double loaded. It has retail on both sides of the street, which helps. And it has parallel parking on both sides of the street, which I think calms the traffic. Traffic doesn't move through there as fast as it seems to move through West Newton Square. The one thing I would say about Newtonville is, going back to your point, Russ, about the street width to sidewalk width, I'm mostly there as a pedestrian. Occasionally I'm there in my car. But the sidewalks are too narrow, in my opinion. It would be better to widen the sidewalks and invest the lane widths.
Good news on that too. And I feel like I'm getting set up on some of these things. So, we're just finishing up a conceptual design for Walnut Street and some of the adjacent streets. That widens the sidewalk substantially. They go from 6 feet to, I think in some places, almost 17 feet. So they really come out, we reduced the travel lanes to 2 lanes. Still have parking on both sides, but we have some prominent bump outs in various locations to accent where the crossing is. So it's going to have a totally different feel. So the conceptual design for that, I think, is June 20th at Public Facilities, and then we hope to get the final design for construction sometime in 2019.
So this is kind of a good segue into some of the, we had a discussion about public life last night, and one of the survey results has been a desire for folks to be able to dine and socialize in more places. I think that some of the conversation there on that was outdoor seating, outdoor dining, or just places to sit outdoors in the shopping areas of our village centers. Hand up.
Yeah, so I meet with a lot of restaurants, obviously, and they love outdoor seating. Social Bill from Social couldn't be here today in the corner. They've got a fantastic pavement out front, and that brings some vitality to that area outside. So I think the more I hear about outside seating, you see it in other areas, I think that would definitely bring more of a walkability feel to it as well.
Yeah. So these were those charts that was referenced, but part of what we did when we launched this whole planning process a month or so ago was ask people what were the reaction to some public spaces. And it's very similar to the activity we have going on here, the visual preference survey, because a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I wanted to show some of these to you all and start to think about it. These we kind of pulled images and from the survey that were greater than 75% loved or very much liked, to kind of get a sense, and that's where I think we're at around 800 responses or so in the survey. But if you start to look at some of these, there's some trends, the umbrella, the outdoor seating, the greenery, the places to sit and socialize, the enclosure and the fact that there's people congregating, these sort of tighter spaces have come up a lot in the images. And then the other is this kind of this tree canopy, this kind of enclosure of the trees, and these sort of smaller places that are, Washington Street is very big, it's very sort of open and it's almost like concrete jungle. Yes. Yeah, so it's, there isn't a sense of sort of human scale to it right now in very many places at all. So, I think the reaction to some of these images was interesting. So the trends here are more, I think coming out, definitely more trees. One of the things we heard was that there's some gas leak issues. So a lot of the trees that we planted on Washington Street are not surviving because of these gas leaks. So there's some other bigger sort of structural infrastructure issues on Washington Street that we've been looking at. So it's not just the fact that planting trees that's going to fix everything. A lot of it has to do with actually physical changes to the geometry. And I think in this particular area, the commuter rail parking is a necessity, but perhaps not doing the best for the life of the street and all of the village center around here. So we've been looking at this area, and actually, as you can tell as you drive Washington Street, one of our team members actually walked from the Crown Plaza all the way here yesterday to kind of experience the whole thing. I've done a number of segments of it, but there's actually very different types of character along the length of the street. So in these mixed-use districts, we're really looking at how can we adjust Washington Street to support the life of the businesses better, and for humans that are wanting to walk there or drive there, park, and then walk to the businesses. So that's something we've been thinking about. We have some drawings that are on the floor there that we might talk about in a second, but the idea of adjusting Washington Street so that it's better for the businesses at the village centers, is that something you all want to see more of, want us to, because we're thinking that's what folks other than business owners are also talking about as well. The concern with that was how do we move traffic regionally through Washington Street, kind of on and off of Pike, getting from one side of Newton to the other side of Newton. So there's this balancing act that we're struggling with in that whole discussion as well. So, you had a comment?
Just a question, comment. It's something I've wondered about for a while. You know, the different businesses up and down the street, and you know, talk about the gap between, but making it more streamlined, adding things in the middle, we're still forgetting that certain businesses, because of their lack of parking, are using Washington Street as their parking lot. For example, the post office. You know, how can we say there's available parking and things like that when, you know, in the morning or at night there's 15, 20 trucks on the street. And I know it was part of the arrangement that day, but, you know, things like that. Or I just bought a new truck down at McGovern. There's a lot of cars from McGovern on the street. And again, I understand it's part of your business and you have to do what you have to do, but you're not taking spots and you're losing the vitality, you're losing the change that's there. And even with the new project coming down there, you know, things like the post office, that you're not going to get any use out of those spots.
The police station is the other example.
Even better example, yeah. So situations like that where we can put in all this time and effort, but something that simple of, you know, when the mail carriers come for the day, they park and put the placard in their front window, and you just lost the space for 10 hours for the day. So things like that, we can do all this, but there's still pockets along Washington Street where the usage of the business itself is kind of eating away at other businesses.
So are there any Main Street groups or business groups in any of the village centers? Is there, you know, a lot of towns have a Main Street organization? No.
Some informal ones.
In West Newton, we talked about it, but we haven't gotten it off the ground.
Right. Is that something the city can help you with? Is that something that you think would be? Well, what have been the conversations around starting one? What are the things that you were hoping that organization would bring together to help solve?
I know, like, for our West Newton group, we have all become friends. We have the Christmas stroll, and then we always say we're going to continue to talk because when we work together, it benefits all of us. So in the same way, we have, if it's a larger group, we could share ideas and really work together and do better things as a group on that share.
So you're in West Newton. Anyone in Newtonville? Has that discussion come up at all, or?
I know there's some groups that are there, but it's, you know, some of us enter 6 or 7 days a week. So even though, you know, there might be some groups it's tough to get involved in them.
Right.
Just people in different ways.
Are there any other groups in the city that any other square village centers have Main Street groups, or? No.
I was just going to comment on Newtonville, on the area council there, and there is no trade associated, you know, Main Street group or anything like that. It's been kind of a problem.
Yeah.
Just in terms of getting.
I mean, Boston has a number of Main Street organizations, and there's a few. There's a couple others. Some of them are trying to get started now. So I think it's a way to help support marketing. You know, it's a way to. Someone mentioned the sort of business mix. You know, it's a way to start to think about vacancy and how to fill vacancy with stuff that are complementary or harmonious businesses. So I know I sat on the Main Street board in South End on Washington Street for a while. And a lot of it was discussion about, well, there's vacancies, what are we going to help do about that? Those are people, you know, there's a staff person, you know, that's typically supporting those organizations. So I think that's something that's looking at all the various factors, you know, simply the parking issue alone and how to get some centralized parking support or shared parking support. Like, you know, that is a type of thing that a Main Street could help support that effort as well. So I think that's a recommendation that we're really thinking would help a lot of the village centers. You know, and I think citywide, we should look at the other village centers, and the Main Street type of structure would help.
So we did for Newton Center, we had a hotel project proposed hotel project that didn't go ahead, but we canvassed about 130 businesses in Newton Center because they're all worried about Newton Center taking over. And there was an appetite at the beginning to get together, but sometimes it's just very hard to get these guys, whether it's in the morning, afternoon, or evening, and follow-up emails about creating their own area business council. It never really came to anything, and I don't know whether it just takes more leaders to combine the, and that initiate it, or maybe some funding that will group them together so that they ultimately have an overall goal.
Right. And you're all busy running your businesses. Right. So, anything else we need to improve other than parking?
Not particularly about parking, but what I want to say is about the quality of the place. Each individual city or little town, village, I think the quality is so important. We want people to come to that particular neighborhood not because they want to get a good or service, they don't want to come to get supplied. They want to come here to be inspired. In West Newton, along this Paper Mouse, Ipswich, and we become West Newton. A lot of people with this law, creative law. It's the reason why they come here. They don't come here to get milk and daily use things, but they come here for a very specific reason. They come to West Newton for West Newton cinema because they play a very different kind of great curated movie. That's what we are known for. That's why people come to this area. What is Newton View known for? What is different village known for? I think as a city, this is what we need to strive and have small business to give that kind of rich variety of selection to inspire people to come to our village.
Yeah, it's interesting because I asked a question a couple of times. What's the compelling reason to be here? West Newton is different, Newton goes to Newton Center. And a couple of folks actually mentioned the cinema as what they think West Newton is the core of that. And I think that resonates with folks. The idea of an arts sort of creative place has come up as well. I don't know, what's the compelling reason to be there? What brings people in there? What's the sort of attraction that folks have to that place?
Star Market is a big one.
Star Market, destination
a lot of good restaurants. Yoga, down under Yoga is one of the best yoga studios in the Northeast. But a lot of good restaurants.
Let people like to eat.
I think one of the major differences, it's something that we looked at too, into essentially moving in terms of basis what each kind of section had. West Newton is definitely more destination driven, and I should say that. West Newton is more experience driven. I think Newtonville is more destination driven. You're going to a specific location. I think it's due to the fact that it is more stretched out and filling the gaps in between may convert Newtonville to. You're not going to get the same market feeling, I don't think, but you'll get more of it, less of a destination and more of a multi-use type of trip. Those are very specifically different.
One big thing that people tell me why they like it is because it's so easy to park. Not that it's easy, and it's a lot less easy now since construction started, but before that, the ease of parking was a big reason why people would go to stores and shops and exercise there rather than in Santa or West Newton. The parking was better.
Right. Do you have this is a follow-up question? Yeah.
I wanted to say that, based on the pictures and the idea of keeping people once they apply is really be looking at spaces, those kind of social areas with either tables or places to just stop, keeps people in a place and it can be the draw itself. Right in a beautiful area, I want to be there. And then you're there, you want to shop, you're more likely to shop around there, eat around there.
That makes sense.
We showed this slide the other night, and I want to bring it up again, just because in this vitality question that you brought up, you have this sort of big box that wants to put a Main Street inside a warehouse, where you can get all of your shopping in one place. But what we're seeing nationally really is this trend towards, well, I want to actually go someplace that has meaning, there's a nice experience, and I know that there's other factors that are making those choices. So it's places that actually are much more vital to people's lives. So that's what we're seeing nationally. I mean, you hear about the issues around retail, the Amazon effect, whatever you might want to call it. And I think the folks that we've interacted with recently, both national retailers that work with people like Simon Malls, all the way down to Main Street groups, are all thinking about how to make places that are very sticky for people. They feel good and all. And I think as a defensive move against all of the other factors that you have small businesses have to do, you have to start to think about how you make places that really matter and that people have that they remember it and say, I'm going to go there because it's cool, it feels nice, it's great for kids, it's great for all. Like, there's all these factors that come into that. But at the fundamental level, it's this difference between parking in a big parking lot, going into kind of the same store that's everywhere, versus going someplace that's unique and has its own vitality because there's a compelling reason to be there. I think for West Newton, it's like, how do you support that core idea? I think with Newtonville, we've been trying to think, what is that core thing that people are really sort of, it is destination retail, just it's got a good grocery store on it. Like that might be something to build from. I don't know, something we have to think about what we want. So, we had a comment back.
I have a comment. I think destination retail is just key. People will drive. I live in Chestnut Newton. I have friends that live on the south side, almost at Oak Hill Park. They come to Blue Ribbon Barbecue because they like Blue Ribbon Barbecue. I'm from Brookline. I've been going to the barn for probably 40 to 50 years, or as long as it's been open. Because you go to the shoe barn. Jerry's Shoes in Newtonville, people came from 50 miles around to go to Jerry's. He had the reputation, that's where the shoes were, and that's where you went. So people will come if you have the right place. If the stores are filled with the right people go every year because he had the reputation. Jeff was an unbelievable chef. So people went there. You go to West Newton Cinema because it is the best current cool movies. You go, there's no reason to come unless you're going to go shopping in a place you really want to be at.
Yeah, and what we've found in talking to lots of business owners over the years is that it actually is a really passionate operator, person that's running those businesses that brings the vitality. I think that's why I was encouraging you all to think about a Main Street group, because if you have a lot of really creative, passionate people, they're going to have a tendency to attract more people, and then you actually get more unique, more vitality out of that. So I think Newton has an interesting collection of those operators already, some of you are in the room. So it's one of those things that I think, how do we supplement that with more really passionate people that can do unique businesses?
One other magnet in Newtonville, which kind of defines my theory about it being so easy to park, is Whole Foods. Everybody goes there from all over Newton, but it's almost impossible to park, so that's got a pretty strong draw.
Yeah, the issue with grocery stores is they're always the last trip. So it's one of those things, it's like, you can convince someone to, well, I gotta go shopping, let me go a little early and do something else too. So that's why I think the grocery store is actually for a Main Street an interesting anchor, but it's also something that it doesn't, there's no place there. I mean, Whole Foods, having experienced Whole Foods moving into the South End, I mentioned or that Main Street. Whole Foods is not your friend usually. They will go in and put in vendors within their store that are duplicates of vendors that are in the Main Street that's adjacent to them. So I think they have good aspects to them, but they're also, we have to work about building a place. The grocery store is something of a totally different animal.
Speaking of Whole Foods, from Marty's, and so we more or less share a parking lot. There's the divider that's driven over for years. Despite trips and other items there. We share a lot of customers, and we have a smaller parking lot than they do, but we constantly see folks that are parking in our lots, which is not that large. And we have some folks that live in our store for half hour or for a lot more, 5, 10, 15 minutes, and then park down the street and carry 12 bottles of wine, a quarter mile down the road. It's see Marty's car right there in the parking lot. But all the entrances, exits, we've actually taken to minorly threatening posting of customer parking only in the lot because oftentimes our customers can't get in there because of other folks that have taken to parking there for other businesses.
So this is an interesting section. We haven't talked about this part of Washington Street yet, but this is really the least Main Street commercial node in the, this is really an auto-dominated environment. And we've been thinking, kind of wondering long-term, what could have happened here that could increase business vitality? Does this become a destination, since there's already a couple destinations there? How does that happen? One of them might be, do we add street parking that's more robust onto this street in the short term? Something. Because what we found is that Washington Street, kind of along the center portions of it, on average, is around 14,000 to 16,000 cars, which is actually not that much. Average daily trips. Yeah. And then at the ends, sort of during peak conditions, 25,000 and 22 to 26, somewhere around there. So actually, DOT is going to do counts around Newton Center shortly. They just emailed us a couple days ago actually saying they're going to do that. So from a traffic standpoint, there's a lot of options for Washington Street just based on that capacity now. So that's an interesting thing to think. You should think about that as a business owner right there. What could happen here that would help? And how does the street play into that?
Actually, the ADT goes down sort of linearly the farther you get away from the pike, but even beyond the circle of death, if you want to call it that, or the big corner rotary. But once you get past the rotary, it still stays up around 25,000 ADT at Church Street, and where Our Lady's is, and even by Harvard Street where Marty's and Whole Foods are, there's still plenty of traffic. It's not down to 15,000, it's probably closer to 20,000 right there.
You're going to take your life in your hands driving into those parking lots.
Oh yeah, no, I walked around that section and it's brutal from Washington.
Parking across the street and then going in.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of those things where I don't think, you're not parking at the bank and kind of doing your liquor and your shopping. Like, that's not, I don't think that's happening here right now. So you're not getting that, capturing those shoppers in a way that you could, I think, with the uses that are actually there right now. So it's just, it might be that the kind of form of that is screwed up. The uses are some of the best uses for a Main Street type of conditions. So I think we got 2 minutes left, and we've actually got another meeting starting on walk, bike, ride, drive. But what I wanted to kind of close with is, we're here from 8:30 in the morning. We start early today. We're going to be 8:30 to 9 p.m. every day till 12. So as business owners, I know you all are very, very busy. But if you go home or you go back to business, you're talking about it, and sort of think of something that's a great idea. Just poke your head back in here on the way home or on the way to work tomorrow, whatever. Let us know. We want your feedback and input. Take a card on your way out with a schedule. There's an email address on there. You can send stuff to us that way. And if you see anyone who's like with a measuring wheel or like taking photos of like stuff, they're probably part of our team. We have a big team of planners and designers and stuff. So grab them and give us your feedback too. So. Before you leave, if you haven't filled out the digital preference survey, and then we also have another activity called Big Ideas, which is sort of, you should all take a look at that, and if there's a big idea you want to add to the board, please do. And then if you're curious, Sunday at 2 o'clock, we're having kind of we're going to show a bunch of draft material that we've been working on. Some of it's kind of pinned up on or taped up on these boards already, but we're going to do that over at the Family Access, which is just over here. Sunday at 1 p.m. At Family Access. So that will be real informal. We'll actually have a block party as well as food and stuff like that. So thanks. We appreciate everyone coming out this morning and taking time out of the day.
I'm just sort of asleep now.
So I understand the grant managed that, I think if I understand from the city that the people might so it walks through the my son scoured breakfast and stuff and just do So now there's like another project.
We're no dog grass, but it would be a good place to live. I have no place. Gotta sit on the hard out here. Everybody's on it. Not allowed to sit on it. That's a really wide place. So he said we can't just leave it. Try to find some parking.
Like all the way up here, I keep everybody occupied.
They had a much different area. No, he's like, okay,
No, I'm going to stay for this next call. I'm actually going to challenge the other guy. It's very cute. Thank you. Absolutely. Units. She was good at that. She was good. Okay, see ya.
You can sit there.
With a visual impression board, and there are dots on the side, so anything that resonates with either positive or green dot, red dot, things
why don't you come up and grab a seat? We'll get started here in a couple minutes.
Hi, and how are ya? Nice to see you. Like I think my son's bow tie for the prom is that cut, just like this.
Is that right? Did they already have the prom? Or?
Yeah, he didn't actually have to do it himself.
Oh. It's my son, it would be going crazy if he knew there was policemen here.
Sorry.